To the town of our free road is strange.
Fallout New Vegas, a game of chance and luck with you playing as Courier 6, appearing to survive a pesky shot to the head. Well, chances are some of you overlooked who's actually shot twice, bringing his probability of survival to, well, let's take a look. Welcome to Is It Possible, a show where I take content from video games and ask, is it possible? One of the theory videos I made a while ago was how I suggested that Courier 6 from Fallout New Vegas was an android. A lot of questions were raised and statements made by people over the information I showed in that episode. A couple of things did keep popping up, like how it is possible to survive a shot to the head, and how a magical figure of 1 in 10 people will survive this incident emerged from somewhere. Now, I know exactly where this information came from. It was from the Game Theorist channel. This I know because the halflings kept telling me to watch his video. Oh, and if you were wondering what a halfling is, it's basically a half-wit who takes half a story to produce one whole fucking stupid idea. But to summarise the video, he plucks the figure of 10% survival rate out of his ass and then tells you how basically you wouldn't have survived the ordeal. Something the halflings would have known if they'd have paid attention. Now, in this episode, we're going to ask, is it possible that Courier 6 survived being shot in the head twice? I think we need a quick recap of events. You take a bullet not just once while you're kneeling in a pool of your own piss, but twice while lay in a pool of blood and brain fluid. No doubt all those internet passwords now getting absorbed by the dirt. Bennett and the rest of the village people bury your dead corpse in a graveyard. Mostly because they didn't want to get fined for fly tipping, which seems a bit overkill as I don't think Poirot is going to be looking for him. Having watched Benny and the village people murder you and then bury your dead body in a grave, a slow-moving robot under the control of Mr. House waits until they finish their fag break and then proceeds the long process of excavating your dead corpse from the sod. Slow-moving robot then takes your dead body all the way over to the doc's house. But Victor isn't slow and Call of Duty is the best game ever. Never interrupt me again. But that is a good point. Not about Call of Duty, about how some dimwits think Victor was fast. Let's watch a bit of footage of Victor unearthing the Courier's dead corpse together. Now let us unearth a bit more to these events. Old Doc Mitchell, who will know Mr. House from when he kicked everyone out of Vault 21, patches you up in his scruffy shack of a home, which looks like you'd die of dysentery if you as much as accepted a cup of tea in this place. With his shaky old hands and rusty tools, this doctor, who is not a highly trained neurosurgeon, pulls the fragments of bullet from your skull, and you wake up a couple of days later, right as rain. Some of you may be getting whiffs of Brahmin shit, and I don't think it's from the doc's place, but let's carry on down this road of investigation. Was there a fault with the gun Benny shot you with that's named Maria? Perhaps it was a BB gun made to look like a real weapon. Actually, Maria has better stats than the typical 9mm in the game. These stats don't show us anything other than the gun is in perfect working order, and the developer wants us to know this gun has the chance of causing more damage than your average 9mm pistol. As we all know, the power of a weapon comes from the ammo type. The ammo found on Benny is standard 9mm, which is perfectly fine. But what about luck being a factor? It is the theme of the game after all. Well, again, let's look at the game character. You build the stats when with the doctor, noticing the luckiest you can be is 10. So 10 is the number we need to attain the level of luck that is necessary to survive what in reality killed us. Let's test how lucky we are at the casino. Now, based on our incredible fortuitous ways, I should be able to clear out all of these slot machines on the first attempt. So, let's go. Just so you know, I was going to bring you an impressive stat on the probability of a jackpot. I even recorded the slot machine, then counted all the stops in slow motion to work it out. Just to find the ant on a wheel as you'd expect, instead, just randomly generated based on the code associated to this machine. But one dead end is another interesting fact. You can see I haven't exactly become a millionaire, so the hookers and blow will have to wait. The best I can do with this amount of caps is a toothless mole rat and a bottle of Nuka-Cola. I can almost hear the mitmots pouring at the screen now.
But if you keep at the machine, then your luck will eventually empty it.
Yeah, but if Benny kept shooting you in the head, your fucking luck wouldn't compound to make you all better now, would it, sweet cheeks? With us suitably pissing all over the luck argument, it's time I introduced a special guest. I've invited Mongo, as he has a statement that I feel needs answering. Go ahead, Mongo, it's okay.
I've heard that in real life people have survived brain damage and I have blue shoes on.
Well, that is a valid point, Mongo, and I thank you sincerely for raising it with me. By the way, I think your blue shoes are quite dashing. So, let's look at a couple of real-world examples of people who've been shot in the head, shall we? Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords, a Democrat, which is America's left-leaning political party, took a bullet to the brain in a mass shooting. The bullet travelled through one side only and went right through. The damage that shot made meant she had to learn walking and language all over again, as well as suffering a 50% loss of sight in both eyes. Black rapper Obi Trice, that's his real name, no gimmicks, was shot with an unspecified calibre of bullet, which he caught in the back of his head. He was rushed to hospital where doctors made the decision that removing the bullet would cause more damage and informed him that if the bullet had moved just an inch further, he'd be dead. The frantic arm waving of ooh this proves you can survive is missing the point the doctors didn't remove it because it would cause more damage. With those examples, you notice the theme of no one walks away scot-free like the Courier did, right? They also share a theme of rapid medical attention by a team of trained medical staff. Also, it should be noted that anti-gun supporters are suffering from brain injury themselves. You restricting guns from the hands of everyday citizens means they're entirely at the mercy of bad people who, ignore the fucking law. Many rant at anti-gun campaigners aside, let's look at the angle of the dangle. Courier 6 kneels to face Benny's piece before he offloads right into his dome. Now, even if you're in the first shot didn't go through his brain camp, your best case scenario is that the bullet deflects up, passing the moon like something out of E.T. to fall at just the right time and at just the right angle so it hits the second bullet, altering its deadly path. When the reality is the first bullet most likely travelled through the skull into the brain, carrying with it fragments of bone and bacteria from your own head. The cavitation wound from the round caused damage to the brain itself, if not killing you outright, then bringing you to the jaws of death. A cavitation is a fancy name for a hole a bullet tears inside something, if you were wondering, by the way. Then Benny swans over and shoots you a second time, most likely through the side of your head, meaning the bullet would pass through both sides of your brain. Again, most likely killing you, but even if you did survive, meaning the amount of brain damage that's been caused would see you live the rest of your life as a vegetable. The skeptic's next question is, did Benny, the former murderous tribes member, then murderous mob boss who rules with an iron fist and murderous ways, miss? Well, to answer that and give you two more things to tick off, we'll listen to Benny himself.
I hit what I was aiming for. Guess you had brains to spare. Or are you just thick-skulled?
Benny confirms he shot you twice in the head, then offers that either the bullet hit a part of the brain you don't really need, or that your skull is thicker than the average person accepting bullet donations to the Brain Foundation. Again, the reminder for those who refuse to believe the Courier was killed, the Forecaster, the machinery at the Big MT, and Lannis from the Legion all confirm you were shot twice in the head, with Doc Mitchell telling us he had to go rooting around in your brain for all the pieces of bullet.
Now, I hope you don't mind, but I had to go rooting around there in your noggin to pull all the bits of lead out.
So it only damaging that non-essential brain that the human body has evolved just to slow down bullets gets wiped away with the fact his brain has took massive trauma twice, with the second projectile making a brain flower pattern on the desert floor. Thick skull brought on by radioactive mutation does hold a bit more hope, stopping the first round on your FOD, knocking you unconscious. But now you're on your side, Benny didn't miss the second time either and shoots you through the side of the head. It passes through both sides of the brain at this weaker point in your dome, or enters and actually bounces off the inside of your skull, causing more brain damage. The ammo has to be mentioned at some point, so now is as good a time as any. You may have noticed from my accent that I'm not American. I actually live in a little village named England just off the east coast. When we're not destroying magic rings or attending magic school, we're being ruled by a monarchy that decided only bad people should have guns because of reasons. And to think the TV I watched in the 80s said present day would be all hoverboards and flying cars. Anyway, the amount I knew about firearms before this could be written on the back of a fag packet, so I had to really research real life ammo things like muzzle velocity and grain. With the details I could gather from real life and inside the game itself, it seems the bullet had enough power to kill him outright. The stats I gathered from in-game actually were the equivalent to a .45 caliber, but put that down to game balance rather than anything else. The upside to all my bullet research is I discovered the field of ammo is really interesting. I advise you look into it. The downside is I went through so much information I now no longer remember my dog's name, and I can probably expect a free prostate exam by airport security should I ever leave the Shire. Now for that small crowd who want to ignore common sense and have this notion that a headshot is no bigger, most likely because of this magical figure plucked out of thin air and games like Call of Duty that turn people into bullet sponges, I want them to listen carefully. To sum up, a hardened hitman shot you twice at no more than 6 feet away in the head. The bullets penetrating your cranium didn't pass out the other side, meaning they dumped their energy into the surrounding brain tissue, with their pathways causing damaging cavitation wounds. The bullets also brought in fragments of your own skull and traces of bacteria to complicate matters further. These injuries would produce swelling of the brain, causing even more damage, a problem that rapidly gets worse as the Courier's grey matter gets squeezed against the rigid bone that makes up the head, ultimately squeezing the brainstem in an almost hernia way out of the bottom of the skull. Every second Benny took to bury her, and every second that Victor the robot took to get you out of that grave and to the doctor, lowered your chances of survival, because, oh yeah, you were fucking suffocating too. Add to that an old doctor who wasn't a trained neurosurgeon working in a shithole, and the result is, you're dead. The remotest chance you survive sees you brain dead and only fit to appear on reality TV. The chances of you not only surviving that and getting back up unaffected to go get revenge 2 days later are ridiculous at best.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
If you wanted proof the player died, you only needed to hear it at the very beginning of the game.
Anyway, you ever get hurt out there, you come right back. I'll fix you up. But try not to get killed anymore.
Is it possible that Courier 6 survived being shot in the head twice? No, not really. Case closed. Now all of a sudden the theory that the Courier was an android doesn't seem that weird, but let's be honest, it's not the only possibility. I do understand it is easy to get mixed up with gameplay and the story as they run parallel, but the reason enemies, or you for that matter, can take so much damage has to do with gameplay, not story. So it's always important to make that distinction for those people who bring up in-game fights as evidence. Just remember, open gameplay and cutscenes are two different beasts. One thing I was going to wait to mention until I do a Vault 22 Untold story was raised by one of you. Just why is it you think the Courier doesn't turn into a walking plant, if he is just after all a regular human? Or as this viewer pointed out, why you couldn't get the cyborg perk? If you want to suggest an Is It Possible episode, then go ahead, who knows, if it gets my interest, it might get made in the future. Together, we can end this thought that the human skull is bulletproof. Remember kids, stay in school, because that's where they sell the best drugs. On your screen now, I've made 2 selections for your next video. One is related to this video, and one is a random selection. Either way, enjoy. Ha! I'm in your dreams now!